Whistle? Something wrong, Whistle?
Fun video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. The fire department never did show up, so hey, we get to keep making videos.
Or should we be worried about holiday on fire?
Right? No, don't call them out. They'll come next time. So, see you guys. Bye.
It's important to get a lawyer for a car accident because the moment that you get in the accident is when the insurance company has the biggest amount of liability. And every moment beyond that, they're trying to pay less and less and less. Whether it's less on your medical bills, whether it's less on your wage loss, whether it's less on the pain and suffering claim. They are trying to reduce their liability. The only thing that can stop you from reducing your liability is by calling a lawyer as soon as possible. Don't talk to the insurance company. Don't try to weasel your way with an adjuster. They know the game better than anybody could. The problem is that they have us to deal with, and we know it better than we do. After you have a incident or an auto accident, you make a lot of decisions. You're picking a doctor, you're picking a hospital, you're picking a therapist. But one of the biggest decisions is picking a lawyer.
Okay, gotta do that, gotta do this and that. So I got two cameras I can use. The black one and the blue one. Let me use the red one first. What is wrong, Whistle? What's wrong, girl? Don't this in the fridge. What's wrong, Whistle?
Lawyers say, here's your intake lawyer, here's your discovery lawyer, here's your trial lawyer. And they haven't followed your case, they haven't followed your recovery the entire way through. At our law firm, that's all of you. You'll know exactly who's on your team, and they'll stay that way the entire way through your case. You know who to call.
Hey guys, Dr. Science here. Today we're going to be doing some interesting demonstrations and experiments with methane gas. And there's a couple interesting things about it. Number one is just like helium, it's lighter than air, except fire. And as liquid methane behaves just like liquid nitrogen. Whoa, except it's flammable. Whoa. Look at that bounce
Okay,
like that.
Get this set up. What the heck is you doing, Kevin?
So that's pretty cool, or I don't even know this video anymore, I'm all confused at this point, but basically, methane is a gas.
Methane is your fart. Methane's farting. Exactly. So,
and then submerge it into liquid nitrogen. What will happen is the methane gas will condense up inside.
methane is what you find in your landfill and the fart is. I'm wearing a white shirt because I'm not that smart. And people are going to come out here a little bit later, so.
This episode of Legal Eagle was made possible by Skillshare. Learn to think like a lawyer for free.
Okay, get this camera out, get book 7 out. Read book 7. I want to now.
Yeah,
Oh,
that is
bad
manslaughter bordering on negligent homicide. A jury would convict Willy Wonka like that.
She's bad. She's a bad brat.
Hey, Legal Eagles, it's time to think like a lawyer. Today, I am very excited to start a brand new series on this channel where I examine your favorite fictional works to tell you all of the laws that have been broken during the course of that movie or TV show. Today, we're going to start things off by examining one of my favorite childhood movies, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Okay.
Let's see if I can ruin your childhood as much as possible. Be sure to stick around until the
Trust me, I know someone who ruins my life. I know someone who would like to beat up right now. Oh, in Indiana, it's legal. But in Michigan, it's not. She broke, I can think of right now 20 illegal laws that I broke. In Indiana, not in Michigan.
I am admitted to the bar in 5 states, including the District of Columbia.
DC.
I have handled hundreds of millions of dollars worth of cases both on the plaintiff and the defense side. And in my spare time, when I have any, I teach law students how to kick ass in law school.
I serve all his pizza dinners right here. He's never even been to the table.
So I am eminently qualified to examine a work of fiction to tell you all of the laws that it has broken. Without further ado, let's dig in to Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
That was...
I'm Mr. Joker.
Ah, come along, Charlie. You're late.
Mr. Joker.
You're right. Very well.
Thanks.
Say hello to your Grandpa Joe.
Okay.
Okay, big problem right off the bat. Charlie is way too young to have a paper route. I think this is a child labor violation. Here, this is governed by the Federal Labor
It's Germany.
FLSA, which states that no one under the age of 14 can hold a job in the United States. So later on in this movie,
It's
Mike TV actually mentions that he's 12 years old. And because I think all the children are supposed to be exactly the same age, I think Charlie is clearly under the age of 14. Therefore, while Mr. Jopek here may be thinking he is doing a good thing, he's actually committing a child labor violation.
Doop-a-dee-dee. I have seen.
Company in this factory's gonna let people in.
You sure?
It's on the radio and he's giving truckloads of chocolate away.
Class dismissed.
Oh no, it's only for 5 people.
Class undismissed.
Listen, if 5 golden tickets and the people who find them will win the big prize.
Where's he hidden the tickets?
It's like 5 Wonka bars. You gotta buy Wonka bars to find them.
Class dismissed.
Okay, big problem here. This is a clear violation of sweepstakes law that exists in most states. You might notice that whenever you see a giveaway on TV, there's always some fine print that says no purchase necessary. There is a very, very good reason for it. The reason is if you require purchase, you're no longer a free giveaway in a sweepstakes. You are in a legal lottery. That's the difference between gambling in the lottery and a sweepstakes, which is just a giveaway. That's why you always hear that no purchase is necessary. You can participate in the giveaway without actually making a purchase. Willy Wonka has not added that language, and he explicitly requires you to buy his chocolate bars in order to participate in the golden ticket hunt. That is a clear violation of sweepstakes law, and my guess is that he would be on the hook for the millions of dollars that people have spent buying Wonka bars in order to participate in this particular sweepstakes.
If you're not greedy, you will go far.
I want it now. What's the matter with those clocks down there?
Oh, UK. UK, it was.
On the job. They haven't shelled a peanut in there since Monday. They've been shelling flaming chocolate bars from dawn to dusk.
Make 'em work nights.
Come along, you girls. Put a jerk in it, or you'll be on your ears, every one of you. But listen to this. The first girl that finds a golden ticket gets a 1 pound bonus in your pay packet. What do you think of that?
All right, that is another FLSA violation. He is clearly pushing his staff far, far too hard. They're working for 5 days straight, from dawn until dusk. He's making them work overtime without paying them anything extra. That is a clear violation. That's called a wage and hour violation. I have specialized in these kind of wage and hour violations under the FLSA.
Michigan doesn't throw with that.
The damages in this kind of case really, really start to add up. Because not only do you have to pay them back pay for all the extra work that they've done, but you're probably going to have to pay them overtime. And on top of it, you're going to pay statutory damages. So for the thousands of workers that this man has in his factory, he's going to be on the hook for hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in wage and
Pounds.
Not good.
UK money. Okay, guys, we're starting a little bit.
Introduce myself. Arthur Slugworth, president of Slugworth Chocolates Incorporated. Now listen carefully because I'm going to make you very rich indeed. Mr. Wonka is at this moment working on a fantastic invention. The everlasting gobstopper.
I didn't notice that. He's in his nose.
Seems you ruined me. So all I want you to do is to get hold of just one everlasting gobstopper and bring it to me so that I can find the secret formula. Your reward will be 10,000 apiece.
All right, so
10,000
what we're
checks.
trying to do here is engage in corporate espionage.
10,000
This is
checks.
trying to steal a trade secret. If the gobstopper had been publicly released, then there would be nothing that could stop Slugworth from just simply buying one and trying to reverse engineer the everlasting gobstopper.
They're not ready
However,
yet.
since the everlasting gobstopper
Okay, I gotta get ready to Beastars. Okay, guys.
it's still
I'm getting ready to do some Beastars work, but if you guys want to ask me a question, you can, and I will do some Beastars work later. I actually have to read 3 more books, 7 through 9, and then about 2 weeks from now, book 10 will be coming out. So, yeah, so, yeah. So you guys want to ask me questions, you still can't ask me. I haven't started yet. I can still talk to you guys right now.
Engages in a conspiracy, who's not guilty of the conspiracy of all the other co-conspirators. So you might get a weird situation where Charlie has violated the Trade Secrets Act by engaging in this conspiracy, while Slugworth has not.
Eh? I have a lawyer working for me. I work for a lawyer, so I know that bullshit's confusing. I actually used to work for a lawyer, guys, and to me, lawyer stuff is confusing. The lawyer I worked for was a patent lawyer.
What kind of accident? I didn't know he had to sign anything for this job. I can't see what it says at the bottom.
Violet? Sign here. Oh, let me through here, you kids. Violet, baby, don't you sign anything there. What's this all about? Standard form of contract. Don't talk to me about contracts, Wonka. I use them myself. They're strictly for suckers. Yes, but you wouldn't begrudge me a little protection. I don't sign anything without my lawyer.
My broker don't sign anything either. Then you don't go in.
I'm sorry, rules of the house.
Okay, so Willy Wonka is trying to get the children to sign a liability waiver to limit how much exposure he has when things go.
I had to sign a waiver too when I went cave walking. What? I signed a waiver too when I went caving. 2 years ago. About 2 years ago, I went caving, and I had to sign a liability. Every time I go on these trips, all the time with some relatives. I have to sign waivers all the time. And I don't much problem.
Now, I probably don't need to tell you that if you can't physically read the contract, that's going to be problematic for the person.
Car contract.
That's called an unconscionable contract. There is some procedural or structural problem with the contract itself that makes it unconscionable for the courts to enforce. And if you can't physically see the tiny print at the bottom of this contract, that is a textbook unconscionable contract. Now, on top of that, Willy Wonka is going to have some problems with signing a contract with these children. Only the children here have signed them. They are minors. Parents, while they are present, are not the ones signing this contract. When a child signs a contract, generally speaking, that contract is voidable at the option of the minor. On top of that, this contract seems to be complete gibberish. Generally speaking, with a limitation on liability, you can disclaim things like negligence, but you can almost never disclaim recklessness. This contract doesn't appear to do any of that. Maybe that's in the fine print that no one can see. But it appears to be just a string of legal sounding words that don't actually have any.
So it's not a real contract.
So I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Willy Wonka has not disclaimed any of his liability, and he is going to have problems with civil suits later on down the line for his negligence and recklessness.
What do you think will come?
That. I don't like the look of it.
Well, they can't be real people.
Okay, guys, time to read some Beastars.
No Oompa Loompas. From Loompa Land.
Wonderland, there's no such place.
Excuse me, Slade.
I'm a teacher of geography.
Oh, well, then you know all about it. And what a terrible country it is. Nothing but desolate wastes and fierce beasts. The poor little Oompa Loompas were so small and helpless, they would get gobbled up right and left. A whang-doodle would eat 10 of them for breakfast and think nothing of it. So I said, come and live with me in peace and safety, away from all the whang-doodles and hornswogglers and snozwangers and rotten, vermicious knids.
Snozwackers. The Mrs. Knids. What kind of rubbish is that?
I'm sorry, but all questions must be submitted in writing. And so, in the greatest of secrecy, I transported the entire population of Oompa Loompas to my factory here.
Okay, so what Willy Wonka has
What's wrong, you right?
is a huge
You right, baby?
violation. He says that he secretly transported the entire population of a separate country of Loompa Land to his factory. A lot of problems.
Big ass must be about size Liechtenstein. A big ass plane. Ooh, my baby boy.
An entire
My diamond.
legally through immigration.
My diamond weighs about 15
It sounds like the
pounds.
Loompas were really facing quite a hardship in their native country. So conceivably, they could have been refugees seeking asylum in the United States or the UK, which
He's in
actually
Germany.
have allowed it to go through. But I don't get
EU.
the sense from Willy Wonka that he went through the proper channels for an asylum claim either. Additionally, it sounds like he made a quid pro quo deal with the Oompa Loompas that he would transport them from Loompa Land, which is a ridiculous sentence to say, to his factory where they would live and work. And it doesn't seem like he's paying them anything. That seems like a clear violation of the 13th Amendment's prohibition against slavery and indentured servitude. It really does sound like he has transported these Oompa Loompas away from a place where they were in fear of being eaten alive every day so that they could become indentured slaves to his factory.
I don't like the look of it.
This is a kid's movie, right?
Augusto, sweetheart, save some room for later.
Augustus, please, don't do that. My chocolate must never be touched by human hands. Please, don't do that. Don't do that. You're contaminating my entire river. Please, I beg you, Augustus. My chocolate!
my beautiful chocolate.
Don't just stand there. Do something.
Help. Okay, so Augustus fell into the chocolate river because there was clearly no handrail protecting people from falling in. OSHA, or the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, requires that there be a handrail built to certain specifications to protect people like Augustus from falling in. On top of that, Augustus was touching a food product with his bare, dirty hand, which hadn't even been washed, and clearly contaminating this entire chocolate river.
Don't worry, he can't drink it all.
In fact, if we rewind the clip to see the entire chocolate river, we can see a number of health and safety violations. So if we take a look at this scene, we can see numerous health and safety violations that would shut this factory down immediately. Number one, we can see the OSHA violation that there's no guardrail protecting the Oompa Loompas from falling inside. We can also see that none of the Oompa Loompas are wearing hairnets. So all of that green hair is going to contaminate not just the river, but all the other food products as well. At least the Oompa Loompas are wearing gloves, so they've got that going for them. On the other hand, Augustus Gloop was touching the chocolate river with his bare hands and has contaminated everything.
Augustus, sweetheart, save some room for later.
It just dyed
On
water.
top of that, there is no segregation between the candies that contain nuts and the candies that don't contain nuts, which means that anyone could have an allergic reaction because of cross-contamination. On top of that, there appear to be plants and trees growing on the factory floor itself, in addition to probably mold and other fungus. So there's no way that this factory could possibly be sterile enough to produce a food-safe product. So all of these violations in and of themselves require the factory to shut down immediately because of violations of the FDA and other health and safety statutes. They're not making any chocolate anytime soon.
Why don't you try simply reading a book?
Don't touch a thing.
And in addition to the prior health and safety violations we just talked about, this room appears to have literal garbage strewn about the entire factory floor.
Oompa, loompa, loompa-dee-dee.
What's so bad about it?
This little piece of gum is a 3-course dinner.
Bull. No, roast beef, but I haven't got it quite right yet.
I don't care.
Oh, I wouldn't do that. I really wouldn't.
As long as it's gum, and that's for me.
Violet, I don't know anything stupid.
What's it taste like? It's tomato soup. It's hot and creamy. I can actually feel it running down my throat.
Stop. Don't.
Why doesn't she listen to Mr. Wonka?
Because, Charlie, she's a nitwit.
Sure, it's great soup. Hey, second course is coming up. Roast beef and a
I'm hungry.
With sour cream? What's for dessert, baby?
Dessert? Here it comes. Blueberry pie and cream. It's the most marvelous blueberry pie I've ever tasted.
Holy Toledo, what's happening to your face?
Cool it, Dad. Let me finish.
Yeah, but your face is turning blue. Violet, you're turning violet, Violet.
What are you talking about?
I told you I hadn't got it quite right. You can say that again. Look what it's done to my kid. Always goes wrong when we come to the dessert. Always. Violet, what are you doing now? You're blowing up.
I feel funny.
So here, Violet Beauregard has been permanently disfigured by being basically turned into a blueberry.
I got a blueberry for a daughter.
Potentially under a negligence or recklessness theory, Willy Wonka is on the hook for whatever monetary damages are attributed to being permanently disfigured in that way. It might sound crazy, but there's actually a very famous law school case called the Harry Hand case, where a doctor promised...
Take a break, guys. I'll read some more in a minute.
Harry hand, and the court had to determine the difference in value between a normal hand versus an unseemingly hairy hand. So courts are in a position to determine what damages are associated with being turned into a blueberry. On the other hand, Willy Wonka might argue that Violet disregarded his warnings and literally plucked the piece of gum out of his hand against his warnings not to eat it. And that might potentially work. But the thing about products liability is it's often strict liability, which means the courts don't actually look at fault per se. They just look to causation. Did a given product cause the harm associated with someone's damages? So it's possible that comparative fault won't be an issue and Willy Wonka will be on the hook.
Doompa-dee-da.
Attempted murder.
All right, so it looks like the Wonka factory is evacuating the air directly out into the outside environment. And the same with the Chocolate River, which looks like it was flowing just right out into the environment, into waterways, and polluting into rivers and streams. I probably don't need to tell you that this is an environmental protection agency nightmare. Who knows what's happening to the environment because of the pollution that this factory is producing? He's likely to be fined severely for this kind of environmental pollution.
Endangerment.
I want the whole works. Presents and prizes, screens and surprises, the bullshits and spices, and now.
Don't care how. What now?
How I want it now.
Oh no, I'm gonna copy strike. It's 10 o'clock, so I need to start reading. I need to start reading now. I need to start reading now. Come on, Ray, a day behind.
Here, once again, Willy Wonka has taken no precautions whatsoever to protect people from falling to their deaths as a result of falling into this equipment. There are no guardrails, there are no warnings whatsoever. I don't think it would be very difficult for a jury at all to pin the blame on Willy Wonka and to find that he's responsible not just for the civil violation of wrongful death, but also the criminal violations of negligent homicide or manslaughter because of his reckless conduct and the fact that he is knowingly putting these people in this situation where they can easily die.
What's wrong, baby boy? What's wrong, my baby?
So the factory's yours, Charlie. You can move in immediately. Indeed. Absolutely.
What happens to the
The
rest
whole
of it?
family. I want you to bring them along. But Charlie.
Yeah, he just died a couple years ago. 2 hours just passed
The
away.
man that suddenly got everything he always wanted.
What happened?
He lived happily ever
My
after.
baby.
Yeah, such a heartwarming ending. The only problem is that because Charlie has won this as a result of the contest, he's got to pay taxes on his winnings. So while Charlie may be very happy in the moment, he doesn't realize that he's going to be saddled with a tax bill in the tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars. So unfortunately, he's probably going to have to liquidate a large portion of the Wonka factory in order to settle up with the IRS. The truth is, when you get everything you want, you don't really live happily ever after. Sorry.
Okay. Here we go, guys.
So let's tally up Willy Wonka's civil and criminal liability.
Okay, then I'll start reading book.
Wonka engaged in numerous OSHA violations, which resulted in serious foreseeable injury. The workplace hazards alone resulted in the deaths of apparently 4 children, so let's assume about $20 million per injured child. That comes to $80 million. On top of that, Willy Wonka engaged in the illegal practice of indentured servitude. I peg those civil violations somewhere around $5 million for the Oompa Loompas. And additionally,
You
Willy Wonka
silly boy.
engaged in an illegal sweepstakes lottery that probably cost consumers somewhere between $100 and $200 million in purchased chocolate, which will happen.
Okay, Diamond, you win.
Which puts Willy Wonka's civil liability somewhere in the neighborhood of $235 million.
So you get nothing. You lose.
On the criminal side, it seems like Willy Wonka is guilty of numerous crimes against children, including multiple counts of reckless endangerment, numerous counts of manslaughter, and potentially negligent homicide.
You sleep.
He's smoking all the chocolate.
I think conservatively, each of those violations could bring with it
You cannot read a book.
20 to 30 years. So multiplying that by the 4 children that are permanently disfigured or dead as a result of Willy
You
Wonka's
can't read a book.
actions, I would say
Okay, guys.
conservatively,
Beastars,
Willy Wonka's
Volume
going to
7.
jail for between 80 and 120 years.
Good day, sir. I said good day.
You silly little rat.
With sweatshop owner and murderer W. Wonka in prison, Charlie's going to have to ramp up his skill set pretty quickly. Otherwise, he'll have to lay off all of the Oompa Loompas to pay off his taxes. If Charlie
Hey, guys, so Book 7,
Wonka's,
Volume 7,
check out some
Chapter.
culinary courses, like Lisa Long's class on making English coffee. And since Charlie is only 12 years old, he's going to
53.
learn how to run a business on his own. You should check out Jay Hutch's class on starting an
You little
online
rascal. You little rascal. You little rat.
online learning community that has
Okay, guys, let's start now, shall we?
classes on everything like
Volume 7, Chapter
the first 500
53.
You get 2 free months of Skillshare when you click on the link.
Chapter 53.
Premium membership
The
gives you unlimited access to
Coordinated
topics.
rat bites
Improve your
the
skills
cat.
and learn new things. It's like getting a gold
A jar full of liquid
without all the child
sits
murder
at the
and
corner.
So click on the link and
Sits
free
at the
months
center
Skillshare
of the
and start
core
learning.
of the table.
And until next time.
Round table, guys. I can't do it because Diamond wanted to stay here, so we have to do with Diamond. So, here we go.
Thanks to Wix for keeping legal
Leaders of the world, especially have been screamed to this kernel. Each leader dips their body into the jar. This is their ritual pledge that they will never disclose the decisions of any discussion during this meeting. When the leaders, when the last leader has dipped their part of their body into the jar of the DNA of all the commander specialists, officers, combined of special discussions creating a chemical reaction. That industry dyes the liquid blue. And this moment signals. Signers.
Let's examine the evidence.
The beginning of the top secret special chemical of living beings. Alan, hello everybody. So many large and small animals have arrived or have greeted here today for the sake of Sheridan Academy. Sheridan Academy Principal, Gordon, Siberian Tiger, age 55. So those of the show up below are ahead of the mystery of decisions schools. I am not academy to speaking in public this. Principal Goen.
But this is more like a zoo, so I think those particular hard hats, in addition to not making sense.
Get to the point. We small animals are impatient. Hamsters of all these schools are headmasters of all these schools are how here, as you can know, Sheridan Academy is still the most progressive by far. The fact that the schools is as yours hasn't been the Beastar for five years. This is unacceptable. All over Academy selects one each year, as does Dope Academy. This is as it should be. There are 2 statues of a Beastar in larger schools through the country. Select their own Beastars. Choose one who graduate to honor and go inclusive training. Becoming one of them will be selected, becoming the next valid Beastar, the leader of the world. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Like 12 different schools. The schools are Instant Academy, Fighter Academy, Western Academy, Broster Academy, Oliver Academy, Dopo Academy, Alton Academy, Alton Academy, Madison Academy, Zika Academy, ZAE, YKA, Zigam Academy, Rockama, and Sheridan Academy. Those are all academies. So those are pretty big schools. And I'm sorry to butcher the names. I don't speak Japanese. I don't speak. With them changing from Japanese to English, it's kind of hard to translate. And it's hard for me because I have dyslexia. If you've been with me for years now. Sheridan Academy's youngest young Beastar have all. Yes, I know. That's right. Becoming a valid Beastar by popular demand. I really don't want to come here. Because they are often victimized. That should come be quite sensitive. You must know that society needs heroes. I don't understand the role of the modern of this real society. It's about time you choose a herbivore Beastar. That's basically really prosody tend to be instant and self-assisted. I hate this. All this serious is changed into color. Change the color of my feathers. Many birds are aesthetic and appropriated. Carnivores usually don't bother to their sensitive of sexuality. There they go again. The herbivores are always arguing, coming to plans. No, sir. No surprise there.
We can reasonably say that the value of the things that Nedry is stealing are worth at least as much as he's getting paid. So millions, if not tens of millions of dollars. Given the dollar amounts at issue, this theft gets in.
This is impossible for all the species in the world to get together and share their opinions without conflict. Conical meetings always end up like this. I heard rumors that Lewis, the top of Cheriton for the H&M Beastars. I heard rumors that Lewis, the top for the top candidate for the H&M Beastars, has cast to attend class. I heard that too. He is doing instead. Have you tried to convince him to return to school? I'm worried about the third year, Lewis, or about myself, but I have no intentions to go to extremes to find him. What are you saying? Listen, he might be a student at the top school, but he's still a child.
So Malcolm raises a really interesting.
Being a teenager is hard. All of you gone through it. You should feel in love, but you wonder what is the meaning of your existence was, and that is why, and that was the time is with your life. Every single one of you begin here to struggle with your instincts. Yet the Beastars system focuses on one student to should that even better. That's why he's always been optimist to do it. We shouldn't be chattering here, choosing heroes. Heroes are born.
I don't believe it. You all meant to come down here and defend me against these guys.
What I mean to say is that all of the students are precious. I'll watch everyone and every one of them as a minister. What do you expect from a fielder? Pursuing your lasering failed ideas. What is that very appropriate you led to lead an herbivore student into yours getting murdered and devoured? That's right, that murder in the spring. Someone devoured an alpaca, a member of the drama club. It was all over the news, and they didn't approach. They preferred, not yet. Sheridan Academy is a boarding school who will take the terrible of speaking into campus just to prey on a student. The murder could very well have been by a Sheridan student. Still, leaving on campus without any questions.
For 18 to 20 minutes, so some of the minor systems they might go on or off for a while. Don't worry about it.
Why don't you appoint the student who appears the preference as your next Beastar? Because heroes are born, right? It's a perfect plan. Actually, that makes sense and simple and straightforward. I agree. Besides, the murders need to be approached as soon as possible. Those favorite clap now. I knew it. This meeting would not end well. You are my nutrition. You are my blood. I will never forget the taste of your melting on my tongue. I sorrow by gourmeting food. Lots of deliciousness. Oh, there's everyone. Oh, there you are. There you are. Everyone was looking for you. Where have you been up to? Talking about simply meaning surprising class, huh? I don't think they are mad. I'll be fine. Let's go. How come are you smiling? This is the end of Beastars, guys, the season 1 of the anime. So yeah, chapter 53 was the end of it. So cut.
So if I was a prosecutor and I was trying to prosecute Nedry to the maximum extent possible, I would argue that theft in this particular case grand larceny and conspiracy.
Okay, guys, I need to get me a pen or something to put in this book here because I'm taking a break. And
Nedry might be on look for the first-degree murder of the people that died during the course of his attempted death.
I'm hungry. I'm joking, I'm hungry.
I don't feel like this is an accurate portrayal of attorneys.
Where does he think he's going? You got a guy, you got a guy.
Okay. Turn off the camera because I'm taking a break.
Alright, so the T-Rex has broken out of its paddock because the electricity went down and the fence is no longer electrified. To me, this situation screams negligence. Negligence is one of the first things you learn about in law school. To prove negligence, you have to show a duty between one person and another. You have to have a breach of that duty. You have to have a causation between the breach of that duty and the damages suffered. And you have to have actual damages. Duty is important because strangers don't owe each other anything. The classic example is if you saw someone drowning in a pool, you don't have an affirmative obligation to help that person. You probably should, but legally speaking, you generally don't have a requirement to do so unless there is some obligation to affirmatively act. That's what a duty is. And when you create a theme park, you have a duty to your tourists, the people that are in that park. Whether you have breached your duty depends on whether you have upheld the standards of someone else in your position. In other words, what would a reasonable proprietor of a theme park do? Did the damages, the harm that someone incurred, did that result from the foreseeable results of someone's actions? So looking at it in this particular context, we have a Tyrannosaurus Rex in a paddock. They have taken precautions to make sure that the T-Rex doesn't get out. They have put an electrified fence containing this T-Rex. And when that fence is electrified, the T-Rex doesn't get out. It knows that it's going to get shocked, and the shocks are enough to keep it inside. However, can we expect things to go wrong? Is it foreseeable that the fence might not be electrified at all times? I would say yes, 100%. So what should you do as the proprietor of a dinosaur theme park? Well, you should take precautions to make sure that if the electricity goes down, the T-Rex still can't get out. What that means in practice is maybe a second fence, one that is able to withstand the might of the T-Rex. It seems like the T-Rex here was able to put its mass in or use its tiny arm claws to be able to snap the steel cables here, which means that they could have used a fence with stronger steel cables. Separately, maybe you have a backup generator that goes into effect immediately when the first line of electricity goes down. That's a different way you can solve this problem. A third way
that shows them on
to not use a fence at all. I've been to many zoos that have very large animals like elephants and giraffes, where those animals are far below where the tourists are. So the change in elevation is big enough that there's no way for the animal to get to the high ground where all the people are. So the natural barriers, the difference in elevation isn't.
Then I'm gonna turn this off and.
My name is Pat. I quit my unfulfilling job and opened a cat cafe. Now my life.
It's hell.
Thanks to Curiosity Stream for keeping Legal Eagle in the air.
Hello, did somebody say lawyer? Or should they bottom feeder? Attorney at law.
I take exception to that. Lawyers are not bottom feeders, even when they're literal bottom feeder fish.
Okay, I'll watch this real quick. Then I'm gonna do some more booking.
Hey, Legal Eagles, it's time to think like a lawyer, and today we are covering the highly requested episode of SpongeBob SquarePants, Crabs versus Plankton. This will probably be the last cartoon I cover for a while. You can check out my breakdowns of The Simpsons and South Park down in the description below.
You watch South
I thought
Park.
it would be fun to end with an example of maritime law, and SpongeBob SquarePants technically qualifies.
I surrender!
Be sure to comment in the form of an objection, which I'll either sustain or overrule. And stick around until the end of the video where I give SpongeBob SquarePants a grade for legal realism. So, without further ado, let's dig into this episode of SpongeBob SquarePants, Crabs versus Plankton. Okay, so Plankton is going to the Krusty Krab in order to steal the recipe for the Krusty Burger. Wait, no, that's The Simpsons. He's going to steal the recipe for the Krabby Patty. Okay, that's it. The Krabby Patty, which is probably some sort of trade secret in the same way that Kentucky Fried Chicken is a trade secret or Coca-Cola is a trade secret. But I'm guessing Plankton probably does this on more than one occasion, kind of like Wile E. Coyote.
That was easy. Maybe today is the day I'm gonna steal the Krabby Patty formula.
All right, a classic slip and fall case. There is an entire genre of lawsuits devoted to exactly this kind of thing, this kind of personal injury, because it's so easy to fake your injuries like this. So this is the kind of thing that gives lawyers and lawsuits a bad name.
Look at you, Plankton. Once again, you're falling flat on your back in another pathetic attempt to steal me formula. You tried and tried. You haven't had the smallest nibble of my delicious formula. And you never will.
I mean, the guy has already injured himself. There's no reason to be mean to him and taunt him when he's on the ground. Not a good idea for a restaurant owner to be that malicious.
How do you sleep at night knowing you're a complete failure?
There really should be a wet floor sign. Yeah, if that were me who slipped, I'd sue old man Krabs for all he's got.
You know, that's a very good point. There probably should be a wet floor sign in the vicinity when someone is mopping up the floor. Although, query how you can mop up a floor and have standing water when you're literally underwater in the first place. Putting that aside,
I have a sign. It's called
I
my
think
bucket.
These patrons are absolutely right that there should be a wet floor.
I have something like that. It's called a bucket.
In the vicinity.
The bucket has a logo on it.
Include the Krabby Patty formula?
Of course.
Wait, I can't feel my arms and legs. I think they're broken.
Plankton have arms and legs?
My pain and suffering. So.
Oh, that looks bad.
Uh-oh.
Poor little man.
Not watching that anymore. I don't know what is wrong with me. I got a headache. I'm hungry or not hungry. I don't know. I already ate something or drunk something. I don't know what's wrong with me.
Today, we are gonna rob this house. Here's a.
I don't know what's wrong with me. I have a headache or I don't have a headache. It's just. Ooh. I want to see this real quick.
I was stuck in an elevator for 2 hours and I had to make the whole time. But I don't blame them. Because one time I turned into a dog and they loved me. Thank you.
Short but pointless.
I want to see this real quick. That's it.
Hey, Legal Eagles, it's time to think like a lawyer. And today we are covering one of my favorite,
Me too.
let's say, guilty pleasure movies. I have a soft spot in my heart for Ghostbusters 2. I know the first Ghostbusters movie is basically a perfect movie. That being said, gun to my head, I think I might actually watch Ghostbusters 2 instead if they're both on TV. I think Ghostbusters 2 was just on cable more often as a kid. I can probably still quote most of the scenes from the Scolari brothers' trial. You're the witness. Yes, we're back.
You be fast.
And that is so. So, as always, be sure to comment in the form of an objection, which I'll either sustain or overrule. And stick around until the end of the video where I give the court scene from Ghostbusters 2 a grade for legal realism.
Okay, I'm
So,
still
without
suspecting
further
I'm
ado,
gonna.
let's dig in.
I'll order some more with the
Ghostbusters
guys. I just want
2.
I'll just quick. I'm gonna do some stuff and put on.
Now, it occurs to me that you probably need some background for this court scene. In Ghostbusters 2, there have been a resurgence of ghost and slime-related incidents, and the Ghostbusters are investigating a river of supernatural slime that is flowing throughout
Yep, I own it.
Manhattan. In the course of investigating this river of slime, the Ghostbusters have been arrested by the New York police for basically drilling a giant hole in the middle of Fifth Avenue and causing an enormous power outage for most of the New Yorkers on Manhattan. So, with that preface, let's go to the court scene in Ghostbusters 2.
Before we begin this trial, I want to make one thing very clear.
All right, so right off the bat, we have some actual legal realism, which is interesting for a change. This is the famous New York Supreme Court. It's on
Really?
Center Street in Lower Manhattan. This is actually the place where the New York courts deal with a lot of criminal infractions. Now, the New York Supreme Court is not to be confused with the U.S. Supreme Court or the Supreme Court of many states. For some reason, New York is really weird in that they call the lower trial court the Supreme Court, even though it is the equivalent of what most states call the Superior Court or the lowest trial court. The highest court in New York is called the Court of Appeals for some reason. Maybe that's just a bit of trivia that only I care about, but it's a super weird way for
I
New York
prefer the
courts
county
to
court,
name
lower
their
court.
courts, and it's very counterintuitive. But it is actually the place where this particular criminal trial would probably take place.
Law does not recognize the existence of ghosts. I don't believe in them either.
Right?
I want to hear a lot of malarkey about goblins, spooks, and demons. We're going to stick to the facts in this case. Leave the ghost stories to the kiddies. Understood?
Now, that is absolutely true that the courts will not recognize ghosts in any particular criminal trial. That being said, there was a New York case where a house being haunted was, in fact, a very important part of the facts at issue. It's called Stambovsky versus Ackerley, where someone tried to get out of the sale of a house, or particularly purchasing a house, because the house was well known in the community to be haunted. It set a really interesting precedent throughout New York in that because the seller had not disclosed the fact that it was actually known to be haunted, whether it was in fact haunted or not, the court in that particular case took it as true that it was haunted. But the fact that it had notoriety for being a ghost house was something that the seller should have disclosed to the buyer, and it allowed the buyer to rescind the sale and get out of buying that house. So sometimes the existence of ghosts is an important fact in trials.
Sounds like a pretty open-minded guy, huh? You gotta call him the hammer. What can we do? It's all in the hands of our lawyer, huh?
I think you guys are making a big mistake.
Lewis!
Mostly tax laws and coding stuff occasionally. I got my law degree in night school.
Well, that's fine, Lewis. We got arrested.
Oh, I love it. Louis Tully, the famous accountant from Ghostbusters 1, who obviously was turned into a dog, and the Ghostbusters saved him in that particular case. Went to law school at night, which is a real thing. There are some law schools that allow you to take night classes. It's usually a 4-year degree instead of a 3-year degree. That being said, you don't want to hire a tax lawyer to handle your criminal arraignment. It's just not a good idea. Get someone who specializes in criminal law.
Put these guys away fast. Make sure they go away for a long, long time, okay?
I don't think it's going to be hard with this list of charges.
Good. Very good. What is going on here? They haven't been arraigned. I assume they haven't been indicted. This isn't the actual trial. They're not going to be tried and convicted in this particular thing. I think that they were arrested, the night before this particular hearing. There's no way that they can be put away for any amount of time because this isn't the place where that happens. You have to go through an entire process. The Ghostbusters need to discover. They need to know the evidence that the prosecutors have against them. The only thing that's going to happen here is that the Ghostbusters are going to enter a plea of not guilty, and then they'll be released on bail because there's no reason to put them in jail pending trial. So nothing more is going to happen at this point.
Violating a judicial restraining order, willful destruction of public property, fraud, malicious mischief. See, in a couple of years, it's your first parole hearing.
So, so apparently there was a restraining order against the Ghostbusters. Given what happened in the first Ghostbusters movie, that sort of makes sense. But the funny thing that the DA said here, which probably most people are not going to catch, is that they are being indicted for criminal mischief. In New York, tampering with someone's public utilities is a violation of the criminal mischief statute under section 145.15. It's criminal mischief in the second degree. It is so funny that they actually got the exact crime for what they did here. Someone really did their research on this.
Your Honor, gentlemen of the audience,
Jury, and there shouldn't be a jury.
it's fair to call my clients frauds. Okay, so the blackout was a big problem for everybody, okay?
Okay, it's crazy that this is the criminal trial. You see this a lot in dramas and comedies where they just skip all the procedural stuff, but it really seems like they skipped a whole bunch of stuff and went straight to the trial. Notwithstanding, Lewis should probably be talking to the jury if there is a jury present at this time and not to the judge. You guys know that. It's clear he's playing the fool here. He's an accountant, and sometimes he's the keymaster.
Vince Clortho, keymaster of Gozer.
But he is absolutely not a very good criminal attorney.
I was stuck in an elevator for 2 hours and I had to make the whole time. But I don't blame them, because one time I turned into a dog and they helped me. Thank you.
Short but pointless.
Very good, Lewis. Short but pointless.
I know this is a terrible movie, but my friends and I will quote this movie all the time. It's such an iconic version of a criminal trial. Among lawyers, I think this is right up there with the Chewbacca defense.
Mr. Fianella, please look at exhibits A through F on the table over here. Do you recognize this equipment?
Yeah, that's the stuff the cops took from their truck.
Okay.
Do you know what this equipment is used for?
I don't know. Catching ghosts, maybe? I don't know.
May I remind the court that the defendants are under a judicial restraining order that strictly forbids them from performing services as paranormal investigators or eliminators.
Okay, so a couple of things are going on here, which is interesting. Number one, I suppose that she could ask the question of the witness whether he knows what these tools are for, and he can say that he doesn't know, or that I suppose his best guess is that they're for ghosts. But because he's not a Ghostbuster, assuming that ghostbusting is a real thing, he doesn't have the expert opinion necessary to opine about those things. He can absolutely testify that those were the things that were found at the scene of the crime, but he probably is incapable of offering an opinion as to what they are. Now, what this district attorney has done is that she has taken this opportunity to lodge with the court a copy of the restraining order that is against the Ghostbusters. Arguably, it's sort of improper because she's not asking a question of the witness. There are times to do this sort of laying the foundation, but this is an issue of law, not an issue of fact. So it's a little improper for her to take the time now because it's not the right time.
Now, Mr. Fianella, can you identify the substance in this jar marked Exhibit F?
Yeah, that's the stuff, all right. Your Honor, I've been working underground for continents for 27 years. I never saw anything like this in my life. Whatever's down there, they must report it there.
No, we didn't. Objection. Shut up! So, if Louis Tully was a good lawyer, he absolutely would have objected at that point because, while, again, this Con Ed worker could opine that during his 30 years working underground, he's never seen anything like this, it would be pure speculation, and that would be the correct objection to make speculation. It would be speculation for him to say that it was the Ghostbusters that put it there. Just because he hasn't seen it doesn't mean that he's seen 100% of all the things that are available beneath the streets of Manhattan. So if I was the attorney, I would have objected. I would have moved to strike that testimony that had just been elicited, and I would have asked the judge to give an instruction to the jury that they are to disregard that particular testimony because it's totally improper.
So you were just trying to help out a friend who was scared of.
fast food at Jack If Hat. Let's talk about that. Good morning. Jack in the Box has been pleasing taste buds since 1951. But in the last 70 plus years, do you think any of those customers ever had the idea of driving to a Jack in the Box, buying a bunch of their food, then driving to 9 more?
Weekend update with Colin Joe and Michael J.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Weekend Update. I'm Michael J.
I'm Colin Jost. President Trump authorized the release of a memo that claims the FBI improperly spotted the campaign, despite warnings from the FBI and the Department of Justice that the memo was inaccurate. Because if anyone's concerned with accuracy, it's Mr. 239 pounds.
It's Weekend Update with Colin Joe and Michael J.
Hello? Hi, kids. What's up?
Hey, everyone. Merry Christmas.
Welcome to Weekend Update. I'm Michael J.
I'm Colin Jost. Well, congratulations to Alabama's newest senator, not Roy Moore.
It's Weekend Update with Colin Joe and Michael J.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone.
Welcome to Weekend Update. I'm Michael J.
I'm Colin Jost. Well, guys, we were off for a month, but conveniently, so was the government. President Trump, the man who said he would own the shutdown, clearly does not care about the people who are working unpaid, who can't afford basic things like food. But why would he care? He's a billionaire who controls all the hamburgers in the world. Then after Scrooge McDonald was done hosting his burger orgy, he went on television today and made a new proposal to end the shutdown. And that proposal was basically, you give me $5.7 billion and I'll give you back the dreamer. Am I the only one who thinks that sounds like a hostage negotiation? I can't wait to see his written proposal. By the way, these protections he's offering aren't even real laws. They're just vague promises. I trust the
Yeah, I agree. That speech sucked. First of all, he didn't even say hi. He just started talking like we was already talking. I found that to be rude. Then he said he's going to stop half the crime and 90% of the heroin with something called slacks, which, as you can see, is a wall without all the wall. In that Mexico, good luck trying to crack this code. What are you going to do? Pass your drugs and small children through those giant slacks? Imagine you're a Coast Guard or a TSA or any of the thousands of government workers that are actually stopping drugs and crime from getting into this country, and you haven't been paid in a month, and the president gets on TV, doesn't say sorry, doesn't even say hi, but instead he's like, hey, what y'all think about slacks?
The other big news this week was that BuzzFeed published a story that said Robert Mueller had evidence of Trump committing an impeachable crime. But the details are so sketchy that even Mueller's team had to be like, sorry, fake news. How disappointing was that? You know how many suburban moms had to retract their group text to the family reading, we got him. The crazy part is that the White House is now celebrating that Mueller disputed only this one aspect of the investigation, while there's still like 100 other crimes still on the table. I mean, if you got tested for every STD, and your doctor said, well, the good news is you don't have chlamydia, you wouldn't be like, that's all I need to hear, doc. No condoms for this guy.
That's going to be a meme. Look, BuzzFeed, I think it's great. We all think it's great that you want to help, but this isn't really what we need from you. Y'all are BuzzFeed. You do memes and lists. chickens out of the turkey. That's you, BuzzFeed. You bring the ice. You know, as Dr. King once said, don't go chasing waterfalls. Please stick to the rivers and the lakes that you were used to. There's no shame in that. We all play a role. Look, sometimes kids come up
Saturday Night Live motivation speaker.
and I say, don't do that. I bring the ice.
He's dead. Saturday Night Live motivation speaker. YouTube. I live by a van down by the river. Question: which river? Which river do you live by, dude? Okay, question. What van? Where? Okay, question. Okay, which river you live near? Because we have 3 rivers here. Which river? Because we have 3 rivers here where I live. Which river? The Rocky, St. Joseph, or the Porridge? That's my question. Which river? Because St. Joseph and Rocky merge. I'll be reading this. I'll be reading next chapter in a minute, guys. Camera goes off. Camera goes off. After this, guys, I'll read some more book. Hey, what's wrong, my baby boy?
Saturday Night Live turns 40 years old this week with a live 3.5-hour broadcast that won an Emmy in the first 10 minutes and then lost it somewhere in the middle. So much of the world has changed since the show began. Back in the 70s, gas was 57 cents a gallon, and now it's $2.60. But who cares?
Still, it's not bad.
It's the same buzz. Viewers of Saturday Night Live span several generations, from the baby boomers to Generation X, all the way to whatever you call the little dummies who are live.
So, a few more years before.
Instead of watching it. Hosts and cast members from as far back as 1975 are with us tonight. Also joining us, one of the show's original producers, Cocaine. Over the course of Saturday Night Live's 40-year history, 11 films have been made based on its characters, which adds up to a record-breaking 22 thumbs down. Times have changed since I first sat behind this desk. For example, I used to be the only pretty blonde woman reading the fake news. Now there's a whole network devoted to that. And somehow I showed less cleavage. Enough amazing topical jokes. Everyone's favorite part of Weekend Update is when
My
other
baby
characters
kitty
come
cat.
out and pretend like they're going to talk about something serious, but they never do. Never do. Every nerd did impressions of their favorite SNL character in Homer one Monday morning, and some of those nerds grew up to be famous. So when Emma Stone asked if she could pay tribute to her favorite character, we said, let's see what you got, nerd.
Look at door.
Thank you so much. I'm having a blast. I don't want it to end. Just go all night. It's really inspiring. We don't work here anymore. Let's see, I'll take your. No, don't answer it. It's always a shark. Oh, no, it's not. Times have changed. It's not always a shark. No. It's not. It's gonna be fun. Oh, yeah, it's just Melissa McCarthy doing her favorite character.
I'm Max Floyd, and I live by a van down by the river.
My name is Matt Foley. And
Who's
I'm
dead?
a motivational speaker. First off, I am 35.
She can't stop laughing. She's trying to go back to Kirkles. Which river?
I'm here to tell you that being a Weekend Update anchor will not bring to you or you jack squat.
She's trying not to laugh.
We are gonna rip it up at that party, and I'm gonna dance with you, and you're gonna dance with her, and I am definitely dancing with you. I'm not gonna go there, everyone. No, I can't be dancing to that. Sorry, Josie Chen.
Okay, time for more Beastars. Beastars YouTube.
You're not like your father.
Okay, guys, we're eating some more Beastars in a minute.